believe we are live. So I'll say, indeed, and greetings unto you, beloved and holy friend. Thank you for joining me once again on another conscious evolution. Today's whole stream topic is going to be about invisible barriers. I was thinking about what we're supposed to talk about today, and I was meditating. I'm hearing my own voice. And I was meditating, and then suddenly I start hearing just a bug, like we call them brommers, like the big flies, those that sound like they run on diesel engines, and it's just like flying against the window, bam, 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 bam. And I think to myself, that does feel significant, you know. And I started applying that idea of me as a fly in my life flying against something, a barrier, not being able to see that there is this thing in front of me stopping me from going forward. And yet it is stopping me from going forward. During the yoga, when I put myself into the child's pose, I talked about that again. How, as children, at least in my experience, I was very fascinated with eventually growing up and being an adult because I believe that there were certain barriers, invisible and visible, as a child that I couldn't progress past, right? One of them specifically was autonomy and getting to do the things that I want to do. And I believed that as soon as I become an adult, then surely I will get to do all of these things that I want to do. And now, as this adult, I find myself stuck in the same loop where there are still these invisible barriers, right? Like skills, like capital, like help from other people. Like there are always these invisible barriers that we put up in front of ourselves, and whether they're real or not, right? Like they could be invisible or they can be imaginary, and we can use that word as well. It still stops you in your tracks, stops you from progressing forward. So we're going to talk about that. I think we have. Thank you, friends, for joining me. I see joy. I was missing you yesterday, beloved one. It's nice having you here today. We have Krista, Jeziel. We missed you in the yoga. Missed today's yoga. I have to work today in the office, listening to today's stream whilst working like a podcast. Blessings to you. Know that your presence was missed and that we love having you here right now. Blessings. Eternal blessings. We have Duck Dad. I'll invisible barrier you. Is that a threat? Don't you dare invisible barrier me, dude. I'll invisible barrier you back. What's up, Cookies? Nancy joining us too. Dan, of course. Blessings, Brother Bear. I was here yesterday just lurking. I figured, but it's nice having you not lurk as well. Either way, you will be missed and appreciated no matter what you share, even if what you share is your silence. We love you. I did find it plays well as a podcast. Good. I'm happy to hear that. One of the things that I hope for with this stream, at least in the long term, is that this can be like a call to action, right? That you could potentially just listen to me as a podcast and go for a walk around your block or take your dogs for a walk or cook yourself a meal, do meal prep for the day or draw something or paint something or stitch something together or you know put aloe vera glue on someone's face. I don't know what you would want to do, but I appreciate you friends being willing to share this space with me and continue existing in your space as well, inviting me into your homes, into your hearts. It truly is a blessing. Did you delete your comment? No, Jessiel. Oh, just before the stream, I was reading about how unconsciously letting how we responded as children and carrying that into adulthood. Just before stream, I was reading about how unconsciously letting how we responded as children affect us and how we carry that into adulthood. Like, I feel like the biggest thing for me that remains from my childhood, hey, Louisiana, blessings. The biggest thing that remains from my childhood is just a sense of alienation, right? Like feeling other. And unfortunately, Corey and Lisa joining us too. Blessings to you, brother Corey. What a blessing having you here. Sending you, of course, Eden and little fruit cups, some lovin's as well. Lisa, blessings. You clearly don't know who you're talking to, so let me clue you in. I am not in front of a visible barrier, Melty and Duck Dead. I am the invisible barrier. Freaking Heisenberg line, dude. That takes me on a road of nostalgia. I actually did bring rolling stuff today. You know, I feel like that could help us melt some of these barriers. And I'm still thinking about this fractal of alienation, right? Because I do, unfortunately, feel alien, you know, especially with my family, especially in this town. Invisible barriers, huh? I'm just gonna write melt. If there are invisible barriers, let them melt. And I'll do like a little Degas symbol next to it. Yeah. Let them melt. And then we'll do a bunch of Nordic runes. I'll do this one. I'll do catastrophe as well. The hail one. I'll do the catastrophe coming to an end. All right, our own catastrophizing, ultimately. I'll do the gift of wisdom. Right? I might be incorrect about what these means, but it, in my mind, means change catastrophe by ending it. Getting the gift of knowledge. Essentially, at least that's the way that I'm interpreting it. Alrighty then, childhood trauma. Interesting that that's the exact words you used. Shannon gave me a remedy that's called Star of Bethlehem, and that's the only one I have left right now. I do have a white chestnut, I think, sleeping remedy as well, but that's been the remedy I've been taking. And it's about trauma, weirdly enough. And I was like literally taking it before I came into stream when I didn't get my rolling stuff, thinking to myself, yeah, I'm gonna anti-trauma myself, you know, with these invisible barriers. Invisible barriers can be, trauma can be invisible barriers. Childhood trauma, like too bad to get over it, or screaming and yelling being the only way that a parent speaks to you. That doesn't lead to health issues. It's something or someone else's fault. Yeah, denial, you know, not even denial, but even forgetfulness, right? That you can forget your trauma. In fact, sometimes our brain specifically does that to us to save us, you know, from those painful experiences as well. And in doing so, the trauma doesn't technically go away, right? Your access to it just goes away. And then you might still respond in this world with those traumatic kind of defense mechanisms, even not knowing why, right? Like they're invisible to you, but they still stop you from experiencing the fullness of your own life. Melty, I posted a short video message for you in general. Going to be heading out. Enjoy your day, awesome people. Full of awesome. Love to you, you awesome you. I'll check out your video, Brother Bear. Thank you for being willing to send me something like that. Don't be swept away in the waves. And if you're gonna be swept away in the waves, keep swimming. Right? Leave me alone. Okay, I respect you. Keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Don't give up, dear friends. Right? You might end up hitting some invisible barriers along the way, but the only thing that can stop you is yourself, is you stopping swimming. You swept away, love is true. Today I start my 49th year on this earth. What a trip. I'm so happy to be here with you. Getting to know you all has been my pleasure. Beloved Lisa, I'm guessing that means it's your birthday today. So happy birthday, dear friend. Congratulations on making it a whole 48 years. Right? Technically, a whole 48 years around the sun. and for getting to be in this moment alongside us, for allowing us to celebrate you. Congratulations, friend. I'm proud of you for continuing, for not letting the invisible barriers stop you from continuing forward. Again, blessed birthday to you, dear friend. Thank you, friends, for saying happy birthday to our friend as well. Hey, we have Shell joining us too. Blessings. I appreciate your well wishes. So much lovin's. Let's read something worth saying. Let's see if this something worth saying is going to be appropriate. I think this is the one. I feel like it fits in not so much of the birthday theme, but it fits in with the whole invisible barriers theme. And it goes, a mind that chooses to be a victim of the world remains powerless. Damn. All right. A mind that chooses to remain a victim of the world remains powerless. Feeling like you're a victim can be an invisible barrier, right? Because you can't see it necessarily. I mean, there's maybe some way if you were maimed or something like that, you know, people from the outside perspective can see, oh, that person looked like they were victim to some sort of catastrophe. But most of us have been victimized in one way or another, and those scars kind of remain on the inside. But if you take those scars and you blow them up and you identify with them, that's the best way to make yourself, one, feel powerless, and two, that's the only thing that's going to lead us to not being able to practice any of that power in the turn. Melty, that was only 3 simulated rotations. Gonna need 45 more. Dude, I literally dropped to the ground. I felt myself getting dizzy with that joke. I was like, whoa. All right, thank you though. Imagine me doing it 48 times. Hey, Lloyd, blessings to you. Nancy, blessings again. Thanks for the visual around the sun. Thank you for appreciating it with me. Thanks, Jay-Z. That's my nickname for you and Dan. Thanks for making me laugh, Mal. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us on this beautiful day, dear friend. It's a pleasure being able to celebrate with you. Everyone else, because it's awesome. The funny thing about trauma, once you go through it, it seems like it's not a big of a deal when it happens again, and then it keeps happening. And you just accept it as that is how it is. This is how you treat people you love. It messes you up. It skews your views of what love is. Isn't that tragic, Brother Bear? That we can be ruined. And I don't like saying that. And I don't believe it, actually. We can allow ourselves to be ruined, right? And it's exactly as you said, it's by accepting. Weirdly enough, I had a conversation with a friend last night about how some people are okay with less. Hey, Sam. Again, invisible barriers, right? And I was connecting it to this story about when I was working in China. And I learned that I was being underpaid for my service of teaching English. And I went to talk to Melt. I'm going to do more. And I went to talk to my boss. And I was like, bruh, turns out you're paying me like maybe 40% of what you're actually supposed to. What's up with that? And he's like, yeah, you can renegotiate after you've worked a certain amount of time. I'm like, no. Actually, I can renegotiate right now because there are people offering me a better salary right now. And he didn't want to budge. And I got a bunch of people together to kind of stand up for ourselves. And all of those people ended up leaving that job. So I do feel some responsibility there, you know. And all of them got better jobs and they got paid better as a result of getting better jobs. But at the same time, other friends, let's call them, other colleagues, didn't want to stand up. They were not there for it. They were not going to rock the boat, metaphorically speaking. And I believe if they were actually standing with all of us, maybe something would have been different. And their answer to me, when I talked to them about Why are they okay with being underpaid? They told me, you should be grateful because we got paid less when we started like 4 years ago, right? As you said, maybe not trauma, but an invisible barrier. Them having been in a certain space, choosing to remain behind that invisible barrier that they've set up for themselves. And no matter how convincing or charismatic I could be, they didn't want to have it better. They were okay with having it as they do. And maybe there's a lesson in that as well, in contentment and being satisfied with what you have. But at the same time, it's a lesson to me in what we think is okay, right? And how what we think is okay. And if we accept that as okay, it becomes our thing that we need to accept as okay, right? I'm sorry, Brother Bear, that you had to experience trauma as a child or even as an adult, especially when it comes to family. I feel like the weird thing about family is you basically expect them to love you regardless of what it is you do. So you get to traumatize one another knowing you can, and they still will kind of be required to continue loving you. It's the whole fractal of the people you'll end up being the most mean to are the people that are the closest to you because they're the ones that you feel the most comfortable and safe with. And it doesn't mean necessarily that that's how you want to be, but just maybe how you're feeling in that very moment. And then reacting that way ends up hurting one another. And then it gets to a point where we've done it so many times and our egos get in the way where we don't want to apologize. And then we just keep doing it over and over again. Or we do apologize and we keep doing it anyway, right? And then we start accepting it and it becomes a new normal. Yeah. I'm proud of you, Brother Bear, for continuing to be a loving person, regardless of these difficulties that you've gone through. It might be a normal to go through these things, but it doesn't mean that you have to continue doing it as well, right? And that's the thing that I'm proud of all of you friends for. My video message was all for Melt folks, not just you. Was for all Melt folks, not just you. Okay, even better. Thank you, Brother Bear. I was like thinking that, especially since you posted it in general. I was like, if you wanted to send it just to me, you could have direct messaged it, but I think it's perfect that way, Brother Bear. What a sweet video. I never watched The Simpsons, but the Michael Jackson factor. Thanks, friend, for sharing that. I'll have to check it out. Blessings, Lisa. Thank you for blessing, our Brother Bear with your loved ones as well. Other people deciding to be shitty to me is not a reflection of me. It is a condemnation of them. Yeah. I don't know if condemnation. Hey, Google, define the word condemnation. Condemnation, the expression of very strong disapproval. Yeah, I guess that's right. Very strong disapproval of you, right? But it's coming from their perspective. And you're not responsible for what their perspective is. The only thing you are responsible for is how you respond in turn. And I'm thinking again about that situation of me working in China. Like I was being condemned. They even like did a intervention for me because I was writing my book during my off time in the office. While the other people were like talking smack about other people's sex lives, I would put earphones in my ears and type my book up. And then they went and reported me to HR, and I was like, oh, nice. And I did take it personally. But I took it personally from a perspective of like, fuck these people, kind of personally. But at the same time, I was like, yeah, the only reason that happened isn't because of me doing something wrong, but simply them being insecure about their own state of being as well. Here I am to testify that the trauma works, and remedies make the trauma work stick. Vibrations, right? And the vibrations that happen in our minds echo through our bodies as well with your vegetable baskets. Love is true. One of the things I read this morning was accepting that you or we can be a relationship with someone uncomplicatedly nice. One of the things I read this morning was accepting that you can be in a relationship with someone uncomplicatedly nice. Yeah. I feel weirdly enough, we in this space are like that, right? Because our relationship with one another, for the most part, isn't complex, right? Like there's no extenuant expectations. For instance, if you live together in the same apartment, right, and someone doesn't wash the dishes, or someone makes a mess in the living room and leaves their stuff, or someone puts their washing in the washing machine and doesn't take it out. Like all of those things make things more complicated, and it challenges you to continue being nice regardless. Fortunately, because we find ourselves in different spaces in the world, all of that usually complicated nature just isn't, of this space. Changes the way we get to love one another, but still, love remains. I agree, Sam, but as a child, it's hard to view it in that way. It takes someone extraordinary to show you what love actually is when you go through that stuff. That love isn't manipulative. It's not something that should make you feel worse about yourself. That love is something good. It helps you to grow. And that growing, while difficult sometimes, is worthwhile. That you are worthwhile. I agree completely, Corey. I'm getting sunburnt. I feel it's hard, I feel like the biggest thing, the way I'm interpreting your message right now, is just other people's own stuckness, dude. How even though what you just said is very true, that is exactly what people need right now. People are so stuck in their own traumas, in their own invisible barriers, that they literally cannot reach out in that way. Like they don't even know that they are capable of it sometimes. It might be right in front of their faces. They can say something to you in this very moment that could actually help you feel a little bit better, but they just don't know. Hey, Tony, and hey, Shades. Sending you friends' blessings as well. Let me get myself a light set up. And then we'll light this. A jiggy jiggy. How's that? Better? I could put it a little brighter. There we go. Okay. To melting, more invisible barriers. Love you. Invisible barriers. You know what my biggest invisible barrier is? Seeking the approval of my father. How silly. And it's again the trauma thing, Duck Dad, where my father's disapproval of me and what I'm choosing to do is expected. And yet, it messes with my brain to want to prove him wrong or whatever. Locking me in a box of behavior that might keep me from experiencing the fullness of my own life. Stopping me from being who I actually am. What is right and what is wrong? Especially in this world right now, right? The nuclear family, the American dream, that was what was right. Most of our parents probably exist in that state. And now we find ourselves in a generation where it's not even that we don't want that, right? Like, I don't think that millennials, people between the ages of 18 and I know that's technically Gen Z as well, but people between the age of 18 and 35 right now, right? It's not that we don't want to live that life. It's just that things are so different that life doesn't exist anymore. And yet at the same time, it's something we end up pursuing as an invisible barrier, right? Invisible in this context from the perspective of you cannot see it, right? Like that life that they want you to live, one, will not be seen by you, and two, cannot be seen by them as an impossibility right now. It's a little bit odd, absurd even. Confuses me that I think my mom at least understands, right? I've had this conversation with my mom where I'm like, Mama, kan mama sien dat hierdie wêreld waarin ons lewe nie dieselfde een is wat jy groot geword het nie. This world we live in is not the same one you grew up in. The interconnectivity changes everything, right? I think of the internet as the planet's central nervous system. Those exact words were put in my head by another human being, but I feel it really fits. That we literally get to feel as a planet now. Not only for yourself. That's a big step in my mind, the right direction. But at the same time, the same with the stream, right? And doing this every day. Doing something, changing something about your life, changing something about the way the world works, closes a certain set of doors. Not from a perspective of lack, but like a perspective of invisible barriers. That as soon as you go past a certain level, you can't go back. Even though some might want to, right? I've still been ruminating about this idea for a show one day. Longing for humanity. Things are gonna get weird, yo. Real fast. Real fast. On the cosmic scale, right? Like lifetime. Like the fact that in your lifetime, you have seen some of the craziest stuff in humanity. We achieved fusion. We actually did that. Sure, we had to use very powerful lasers, and we spent a lot of energy firing those lasers. But we actually made fusion, right? For a split of a split second, there was something on Earth hotter than the surface of the sun. Right? Let's just take that in. And people just go on with their days. They're like, yeah. Invisible barriers, right? Like we cannot go back. We cannot go back to now not knowing it. Well, technically we can. But I feel like, again, with the internet and this central nervous system, your central nervous system, one of its functions is remembering, right? If you touch a hot plate, hot stove top, and it makes ow, suddenly through your central nervous system, this information is encoded in your brain. That's like, don't do that though. Nah, stop. And then for the rest of your life, right? Maybe there are these intrusive thoughts that goes, yeah, how would it feel like if I put my hand on that red hot stovetop, right? And you can think that for a second, but it doesn't happen, at least most of the time, right? You have this invisible barrier, again, between you and that action. You know you can't take that action. It's very possible, but there's this invisible thing standing in between you and it. And now we gave our Earth a central nervous system. And the more we move forward into the ideal future, the more invisible barriers we place behind ourselves. Or at least I hope, because you can look back. You can look back and do the same thing now. You can, technically, through these invisible barriers, because we can still see our past, right? And yet still we keep extending the bar, putting it further. We place invisible barriers in front of ourselves as well, right? Into the future in the same way we do it for our past. Telling yourself that a certain set of things, you're gonna have to overcome some invisible barriers before you can overcome some invisible barriers, right? Paradoxing yourself into inaction. I'm tripping myself out right now. I hope that it's hitting a note for you, friends, too. I think my light is speeding up. It is getting warm. Light is expensive energetically, at least with our current technology. Something that should make you feel worse about. Okay, I think I've read that one actually. That's how I got fired my last job. There was a quick to give. They were quick to give promotions, but not so quick to pay for said promotions. I put a lot of pressure on getting my fair share. I like how that's like a tactic where they're like, yeah, you're gonna get new job title. And you're like, hey, Yuda, I don't think I've seen your name before, but sending you blessings. It's nice having you in this space with us. Where they're like, yeah, I'll give you this cool title, and you're like, oh, am I gonna get paid appropriately for this type of title? Nah, just more work, longer hours, but you're still gonna get paid the same, because clearly you really want it. You're a hungry hippo, and you want to keep eating those coins. Yum 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 yum. Keep working. I'm happy that you stood up for yourself, bro. Oh yeah, that was just my takeaway, Corey. Bless. After asking for a raise once, that's ridiculous, dude. I didn't get fired at least, but I did decide to leave. I was like working there for like maybe a week and a half, and then I was gone. Dan, it's even more frustrating when it's tiered. That cushion almost smashed my phone. Freaking watching you cushion. Think I'm slacking? Oh, freaking reflexes. Mr. Shell, are you going to? I think I missed one. Dan, it's even more frustrating when it's a tiered pay system, when people who have been there longer than you get paid more to do the same job. Not only that, it gets worse, right? In these tech companies, and I'm guessing that, Brother Dan at least is working in tech companies, they have like usually a certain type of ownership or like stake, profit stake type of thing that they can kind of like work in by getting into the company sooner. So not only are people being paid more for doing the same job you're doing, you could even potentially be doing the job better. Other people getting paid more for doing the same class of job, same title of job that you were doing. But on top of that, they're actually directly profiting from you bringing profit into the company instead of having to pay you, right? So it's like yes, it's a whole thing, dude. I was like thinking about this a lot recently as well. How we have things like patents and IP, and how it's this technically a whole business in and of itself, right? Just trying to claim ideas as your own and then sue other people for trying to use them. Where I feel it should be backwards, right? People should be posting their cool new ideas online so that everybody can utilize it. I'm thinking about some of the energy breakthroughs that's happening in battery tech right now. Like there's a bunch of stuff. Hey Sena, blessings to you, friend. It's nice having you here. Are you exhausted? Weirdly enough, I'm feeling that way too today. Sending you blessings. I hope you feel better. I missed my train of thought. Maybe that's okay. Love is true. Woo-hoo, I love you. Is Joe Schmo here? Oh, Jovan, blessings. Even better. It's nice having you here, friend. Shall are you going to engage her in discussion? Maybe. When I finally got my meeting, the raise was less than 3% in a year of 7% inflation. So basically a pay cut. When you factor cost of living in, this position meant I would forfeit WFH, work from home. There we go, privileges. They made the mistake of telling me that this is the largest pay increase being offered to anyone. When I shared this with the folks waiting on their reviews, all hell let loose and they fired me. Good riddance. Now I can code, literally, right? They fired you and you used the money they paid you that you saved to gain new skills, become a more valuable, more powerful individual. It's like, joke's on you, dude. I'm not going to let your invisible barrier stop me. Hoorah, Dan. That's pretty sick, dude. This culture of not sharing your salary with your coworkers, and them being like, don't share your salary with your coworkers, keep that hush, is also so backwards. Didn't stop me from knowing my worth. He was just shitty boss. There we go. Shitty boss. Shitty boss. Some of you friends know exactly where that's from. Some of you are like, the fuck was that? The sound like the motion, Dan, literally. Sam, only once we realize our value and values, are we able to see the abuse and trauma that's being done to us. Like generational exploitation, right? Like just those words. They are so short. 2 words, right? Generational exploitation. No matter your skin color, no matter your race, no matter your sex, no matter your sexual orientation or preferences, just generational exploitation. Using people like batteries, right? To power this infinitely. That's the point, right? Like it's supposed to infinitely keep going upwards, right? That's what that's expected of us. And it's like, yeah, but I'm a person. I'm person. And it's like, yeah, infinity growth. You person, you do that. Oh, please. Fortunately, AI is gonna change that. And I keep saying that, and people, there's like three groups basically. There's a group of people who believe AI is gonna change everything. There's a group of people who believe AI is gonna kill us all. And then there's a group of people who don't know what AI is. Right, and a certain level of awareness. And I don't write off the possibility of getting killed by AI, by the way, right? Like it's not an impossibility in my mind. But if I only have a finite amount of time to say things, I would rather talk about the possibilities where AI actually helps humanity, right? Kind of like that's the way I reason, at least in my mind. And it's exactly that, right? Like when it comes to this expecting human beings to kind of keep generating this infinite, fractal of profit, AI can do that, right? In a way that no human being will ever be able to. Any job where you have to sit in front of a computer technically can be done by a computer, right? And there's a lot of work. There's like a lot of work being done on computers right now. And then it's again about learning how to serve people, right? And you can use, even when the leg work, essentially the profitable work, the work that's actually making the money. If you could have, for instance, a team of coders who anything you told them you wanted coded was coded in a single day, you would instantly have the most powerful programmer in the entire world, right? Or a team of programmers in the entire world. And now, technically, with API calling, every single person in the world can have access to that same level of technology. That's pretty drastic. that's pretty drastic. And again, invisible barriers, right? It leaves us almost like unaware or unable to understand how fast things change from that level forward. Because now the world in which we used to exist no longer exists to us. And the reasoning and the thought process we went through and the things we showed up for, again, thinking about the exploitation, right? Like some of us are okay with it right now. Not because we need to be, well, we do need to be, not because we want to be, but because it's the only thing that there is to do right now, right? It's like between a rock and a hard place kind of situation. Where do we go from here? And then paying attention to what's happening all around us. If you pay attention to what's happening in solar and battery tech right now, it's absurd. It's so absurd. It's the same. Hey, Gary Lee, 555, dude. The fact that you had to choose 555 out of everything, I've seen like 7 555s in the last week or something, bro. So perfect. Thank you, Brother Bear. Man, my mind is going in all of the directions right now. Change. Okay, yeah, that's where I was going. In the same way that we went from a world where Apple essentially brought out the first polished smartphone, and people were like, "Oh, that's cool," to almost every single person in the world having a smartphone right now. That same level of transition is happening in renewables and battery storage, because you can store energy in a myriad of ways. There's so many ways. One of the ones that's been coolest to me recently is literally Rust as an energy storage system. You rust something and then you de-rust it by charging it again. And it has like what, something like 10 hour? Is it 10 hour? Might be even more. Extremely long cycle rates, and it's going to be, commercial tech essentially. But again, it's this level of deployment of like how fast we can go from an idea inside the human mind to actual fruition. And that's where I feel AI is really going to empower humanity in a way that we've never been empowered before. Right? Being able to literally sit down with something, think of it like a creative partner, talk to it for an hour about something you want to create. Let's imagine a new business where you teach kids how to plant plants, or a movie that you have an idea for, or a TV show, or a beautiful painting, or a song. You name it, there's enough data to program it already, right? And it's only going to continue forward. And you sit with this thing for an hour of your day, you show up for love, and then you literally make something that you would have spent years, decades even, in skills just to be able to realize that. And then it becomes this, exponential curve, not only within the deployment of these technological devices to our individual people, but ideas that would have usually taken decades of technical skill that will just start growing like little flowers, on this tree of life that we have been participating within. And that's what we're going. That's what you are. Keep showing up, friends. The invisible barrier, right? I'm thinking about how a flower bud, as it starts to form, literally pushes up against an invisible barrier. That is the air, that is the atmosphere, right? And then literally breaks out of it and has like scent molecules and pollen that can literally penetrate this invisible barrier as well, continuing the fractal. I love being able to share this stuff with you, friends. It makes me so happy. Man, I think I missed a bunch. I'm scrolling up. There we go. Is he? It's a he. And yesterday we had a spreadsheet and Mesoamerican history and culture discussion that did the thing, You had to decide to end the meeting. I don't know what the context of that is. Maybe it was such a good conversation. Reported to HR for that. Oh yeah, because I was spending company time on my own projects. That was the reasoning. You're spending company time when you're. But I'm like, bro, I have 2 hours of classes and then I have 7 hours of prep time because I have to log hours in order for them to pay me my salary, apparently. Apparently. So I'm like sitting there, 2 hours of my prep time. I prepare, I get all of my stuff ready for my classes, and then I have 5 hours where I'm sitting, losing my mind in an office that's 37 degrees Celsius and 95% humidity. And then I'm like literally, I'm thinking about how I would describe that state of being manically, essentially, putting psychedelic trance in my ears, and then writing. Maybe I did look a little bit unhinged. Looked like I was writing the. I should probably shouldn't say it a lot. Something something manifest. Shaking, shaking of invisible barriers. Now I'm remembering last night I was listening to someone talk about attachment styles. Important thing to know, right? Understand the attachment styles: secure, avoidant, anxious, right? And realize that if you understand how your attachment style is and you get to communicate that effectively with other people, you can try and create a little bit of balance within those three as well. Death Corey, oddly enough, I was one of the senior employees at the company. This was the second promotion they offered me. The first one came with a 13% increase. I laughed when they couldn't do 3%. Did you deny the first promotion or something? Maybe they had like some sort of, agenda against you because you denied it. Like, had there been a drop in your performance, any complaints, or did they just try to save themselves some money at your expense? Dan, that offer is an insult. I'd say so. Housemate making messes. I don't know what you mean. I'm just imagining the rappers on the couches, right, laying on top of the rappers. No shame. No, doesn't care. Doesn't matter. What does it matter to you? They ask. Oh goodness. Can you please say hi to our friends in the other stream? Melt like from us. The friends on YouNow's side. We have 3 here. Blessings. You have friends on YouTube saying hi to you. Thank you for joining us too, friend. People on YouNow rarely say anything, right? It's more like just the window that I'm opening on the YouNow space. If there's any friend, wandering through that world, maybe they'll find us by chance. I'll put a hello in chat in the YouNow stream for everyone here. Thank you, Shan, for doing that too. Another invisible barrier, remembering a therapist telling me about the unconscious pull. That is getting in relationships and trying to work out a family of origin dysfunction, but without realizing it. Yeah, right? The whole fractal love. You end up looking for the things that traumatized you. Why? Because it's familiar. You understand it. That's why. It's like, oh yeah, I know how this feels. Sure, it sucks ass, but I understand it. I'm familiar with it, right? Instead of the unknown, the uncertain, the novel, the complex, right? Coming back to that word. Shan, thank you. Suddenly I felt separated from them and it felt wrong. Don't worry about that too much, y'all. There is no such thing, right? All of us are in the same moment together. Like that's the trippiest thing. Like not even all of us as human beings, but all of us, right? Anything that you think falls under us in this moment. That's a lot of us, yeah. That's so much. Another invisible barrier. I think if everyone felt separated, I feel that Melt. I felt like I spent my whole time growing up trying to make him proud, but expressing emotions wasn't something my dad did. Yeah, mine too. I had to go get married for him to say he was proud of me. Isn't that ironic? It's like, good, you are, you're doing it. Good, you got wife. Where that kids? You got kids? Good. Yeah, good. Doing it now. Maybe the problem is we need to only seek our own approval and no one else's. Lisa, that keeps turning out to be the best way to keep my sanity, right? Unfortunately, my standards are higher than anybody else's for myself, right? It's the whole Stoic quote of be hard on yourself and soft with others. I'm still working actively on the being soft with others, but I do tend to be hard on myself, striving to be what I know I'm capable of being. And I acknowledge that it's an ebb and flow process. You friends have been here for that ebb and flow process. I'm happy to be getting better alongside all of you. It really is a blessing. It's been almost. I'm gonna get ready read the previous one first. Sam, not sure if your question was directed at me or not, but if it was, that they gave the reason they gave was we're anticipating a recession. This was at the beginning of this year before the tech layoffs. Yeah, I mean, then they weren't technically incorrect. I said, gee, sounds like you've got a real problem on your hands. Anyway, I refuse this promotion, Mama. But it's almost a year since he's seen Fruit Cup, the dad of Corey, who said he was proud of him only after getting married. He asked me if I wanted him to be a part of her life. I told him that it didn't matter. What matters is if he wants to be a part of her life. I guess he made his choice. It hurts deeply, but that was the choice he made. Yeah. I don't know how far away he is or what he has going on. All I know is that it feels a certain way to you, and that feeling is the thing that we have to be aware of and take some personal accountability for as well. Not from the perspective of that it's your fault that, he is the way that he is or he made the choices that he made, but from the perspective that it is your responsibility to still make the most of your situation regardless. Maybe there is some sort of cosmic consideration at play as well. Because I know for a fact that my dad is gonna do everything in his power to try and brainwash my children one day. Like I can feel that. I can already feel myself in the future being angry about that. And I'm like, come on, relax. Relax, oh, it's okay. Be calm. Breathe. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Or it's gonna be fine, right? If he shows up for her or not, it's gonna be fine. And so will you be. And she will grow up, with a loving dad regardless. I got you, Shell. Love sent. Mel. Yesterday, I thought how insecure your father must be to act the way he does. I tried to get him to that as well. He doesn't see it that way. He doesn't see it that way. And again, I want to iterate this over and over again. My dad's not a bad guy, right? I don't even think so for a little bit. I think my dad really tries to be a good person. But a part of being a good person to him is believing in this religion, right? And I think that is fundamentally morally incorrect, right? Like, I had this conversation with a person about stealing, right? And they were like, oh, yeah, I can't steal because it's a sin. And I'm like, no, we don't steal because you were hurting the other person, right? There's someone who, if you're stealing something, can be potentially influenced by the loss of said thing, right? And that's the thing we're trying to be aware of, not perpetuating the cycle of pain. It's not that you're gonna save your own ass by not stealing things. That's not the point, right? That is again a separation from unity. It's an invisible barrier, right? It's like, oh yes, it's sin. So I'm not gonna step past here because then I'm in sin territory. Instead of realizing what the underlying fundamental, almost like moral value of not doing certain things in the world is. And again, all of it in my mind at least is reduce suffering, right? Try to mitigate or reduce as much as you possibly can the amount of pain you experience. Because again, from the perspective of unity, this is all you, right? There is no experience without you having it right now. Sure, we get to participate in this world as these individuals, but without you in this world as you know it, your participation, your experience of it ceases to exist, right? So if you're going to participate in this experience, try to love it because it's what you get to have of yourself, right? It's that relationship. That's why I do believe in having a loving relationship with God, if we're going to use that word. I know it's triggering. That's what it is, right? It's not separate. There's no invisible barrier between you and this relationship with God. Here it is. It's everywhere. It's the people you talk to. It's your pets. It's the trees, the bird flying over me, right? It's the way the sky changes colors as the sun is setting. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful, but it is a lot. And as a result of that, we tune out much of it, most of it even. It's like ignoring the most beautiful thing in the universe because it's always right in front of you. Right? Like there's a line, these are some of the most beautiful days I've ever ignored. I forgot to know who it's by. There's a movie made about him called A Futile and Useless Gesture. Something like that. Kind of shook me a little bit. A little bit, I say. It shook me a lot. I'm shooketh still. I'm still shooketh. Ignoring the most beautiful thing in the world because it's always right in front of you. Maybe that's the invisible barrier. You to yourself. Nice. Milk. Melt barriers, melt. Let me be free. Melt barriers, melt. Let me see. I feel like I'm paying attention too much now. You want to see what I'm looking at? It's almost like that. I feel this is too wide. It's closer to it. It's like that. That's the perspective that I'm looking at right now. What invisible barriers are there, friends? Right? I'm trying to think about how each and every single one of us is having an individual experience, right? We're looking at the same arrangement of pixels or experience, right? At least conceptually. In this way, because of this experience right now, this is almost the closest to a shared experience we could possibly have. Because even if all of us were here in this moment together right now, sitting side by side, we would still be, from those sitting perspectives, having a vastly different experience with what we're looking at. And because of where we are right now, again, alongside thinking of this internet that we've built as the central nervous system of our Earth, we are collectively now looking through the same eyes. Seeing the exact same thing. Yet having a whole plethora of different feelings. I feel like that's the part that makes it the most beautiful. Is that even though we're looking at the exact same thing, each of us are having a unique experience. The handout the company take during 2020, I think they went bankrupt even with the whole SVB thing. I don't know if that's still the fractal. Melt yesterday, love again. The oldest millennials are 40. 40! Damn! So up to 40. And they start blaming it all in the Gen Z because millennials are too old for the finger pointing. Yeah, it's gonna start falling on them, unfortunately. I feel like our generation is a little bit, at least, being stolen by the internet as well, because a lot of people think the internet is only a distraction device. Right? That's what a lot of us use the internet for primarily. Lisa, I think the parents teach us how to approve ourselves. Sometimes they skip that. Sometimes they teach us to disapprove of ourselves. Number 3 is my personal experience. Yeah. I was also taught how to disapprove of myself. Unfortunately, Shell, my weight, my faith, my language, my beliefs, my understanding, my experience, my interpretations, all met with disapproval of me, right? Because I'm the one sharing them in that moment. And it's hard, right? It is hard kind of like having to go through that experience and having those invisible barriers unknowingly, sometimes knowingly put in front of us, for the rest of our lives. And if we're not aware that these invisible barriers exist, we're going to keep flying into them like the fly flies into a window, not knowing that there is something in between it and the sky. That's all we have to do, friends, is just become aware. We don't have to be able to melt all of these invisible barriers in and of themselves, but just become aware enough to know that we can go around, I guess, right? Find a new path. Choose something else. You are not responsible for what others think about you. Yeah. One of my favorite lines is other people's thoughts other people's thoughts or what they think is none of your business. It's none of your business, right? Other people want to think wacky stuff about you. That's none of your business. You don't have to know about that. Hey, Hannah, thank you for becoming a fan, friend. Yuda, night here in Indonesia. Woohoo! Love to you, friend. It's nice having you here. Thank you for joining us, Yuda. Sending love to Indonesia. Exactly. Sam, there was after I 3.5-hour testing capacity for a big client that summer. I was pissed. But the lesson for me was how the anger it creates destroys me, sets me on a bad path for a bit. Yeah, unfortunately, it's like one of those, even though it's cliche, but anger is a poison that only destroys the vessel that it is kept in. Is this the best perspective? There we go, that's better. Anger only destroys the vessel with which it is kept in. Right? My favorite fractal that I kind of like associate personally with is if someone hands you a cactus, right? Maybe you're blindfolded and they're like, here, catch this beer. And you go, oh, and then it's actually a cactus that they threw at you. And now you have your whole hand embedded in cactus. That's probably gonna make you pretty angry, right? And then in that moment, right, and we can attach this cactus throwing at you to any negative thing a person has said to you, any unaware, any biased, any stereotypical, add your fractal here, right? Them throwing this cactus at you. And then we can grip it and keep squeezing it out of this rage, embedding these thorns even deeper into our own hands, or we can let go, right? And that's what forgiveness is. It's not saying it's okay that you threw this cactus at me and now there's thorns embedded in my hands and now we're gonna keep being homies, right? That's not what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is letting go of the cactus and then letting yourself heal, right? And then you get to choose whether or not you want to trust this person again, whether or not that person will be there to tend to your wounds, right? Or are they just gonna leave you with them? Oh man, invisible barriers, right? Again, it's on my lap. Weed is working, I haven't even smoked that much of it, but technically it has melt more on it. So I feel like it's doing its job. Its intention is resonating. 1111. Thank you, Shan, for reminding us. Make a wish. My wish is usually receive abundance. And abundance can come in many ways. More than anything, abundance is a capacity to realize more, right? Opportunity, essentially. Mine as well, Shell, 3 on a daily basis. Yeah, takes time. Like it takes time and it keeps happening over and over again. Cactuses. Getting thrown with cactuses. Gonna have to learn how to start matrix dodging cactuses. Don't even let them touch you in the first place, right? Just let it, slide right off of you. We need to be taught how to love. Unfortunately, that is something people forget to teach children. We're not taught how to love ourselves or how to be at peace when things are going wrong. Yeah, only two emotions are appropriate, right? Be sad or be happy. Or actually, be angry or be happy. And then we find ourselves angry with ourselves most of the time, angry with ourselves because we're not happy, despite all of the other things that are going right. Right? Because we were never given the skills to actually properly be mindful of our own space. I think I'm gonna keep scrolling down. The lesson here is to keep your coding for the company on tabs and nuke it when they start getting shifty. No money, no code, monkey. That's like what people do, right? Like what ends up happening in some industries is people will hire someone with like coding skills to basically do an extreme amount of legwork that will now continue gaining or providing profit for that company indefinitely, and then they'll fire them, right? Be like, oh yeah, thank you for doing this lifelong valuable work. Now goodbye, right? And then those people end up ripping the metaphorical wires out of their code. Night here in Indonesia, woo, blessings. Have a peace, sleep well again, friend. How to be at peace when things are going wrong. So true, Corey. Something I'm actively working on. Weirdly enough, I seem to hurt myself to keep learning that lesson. Either hurt myself or cause myself extreme discomfort. You know, where it's like, okay, now I'm gonna breathe instead of doing anything else. Like again, like this is something that I've been hearing more and more is that we were never taught that doing nothing in a bad situation is an option, right? If you're being only given horrible options for what you should do next, doing nothing is also an option. Maybe there's an invisible barrier of us thinking that we always have to, again, solve the problems, right? If something is going wrong and there's no problem for you to solve, the problem becomes you. So I'm right. No justice, no peace. Instead, we're taught not about taxes, but algebra and trigonometry and phonics and grammar. We build on that at a very slow rate rather than exponentially. I feel, fortunately, it is going to change, right? Like, I think of the future as mostly every single student has his own teacher kind of vibe, and literally have access to everything. You're Indonesia, very cool. See you guys. Love to you. We have Ali here joining us. Thank you for joining us, friend. Sending you good vibes as well. I want to talk about the memories that came back to me last week, but it's been hard to summarize. If you find the words, we'll be here to find them as well, dear friend. Hi, everyone who has arrived recently. Thank you, Nancy, for greeting our friends. Well, you know where to find me when you want to try working that out, Shell. Of course, blessings. Those reflexes. Squeeze my heart. Thank you, Shan. I'm tied up in a meeting all morning, but intermittently and lovingly lurking. I love all of you friends, Shan, Ali, Shell, Joy, Bananas, Lisa, Sam, Nancy, Yuda, Dan, Lawazana, Kristen, Duck. Thank you, Jovan. I don't know if you're still lurking. Sending you blessings during your meeting. Sena saying, hello, Meltmore and beautiful friends. It's so good to be here with you. Finally, I was able to get up early enough to catch the stream without feeling exhausted. Blessings, friend. It's nice having you here. Thank you for making it. You're always appreciated, dear friend. What I don't get is how upper management expects you to care as much as they do. They get paid for more responsibility and have a higher stake in the company than the rest of us, yet they want you to care as much as they do. Sorry, what? You pay minimum wage and you want me to care as much as you do? I imagine the ideal future would just be employee-owned companies, right? Where, yes, if you care about the company, you literally get to own parts of it. And then the more you care about the company, the more you get to earn, right? Like there's a gas station that runs like that, where it's employee owned, where people working as the gas station attendee are like multimillionaires because they're part owners of this company, while they're working there as a minimum wage job. Right? Like, is that, and again, you get to vote with your feet. You don't have to be anywhere you don't want to be, especially if you're somewhere where people don't value you. And as soon as that clicks for people, as soon as they're like, oh, then we can actually change the world. But at this point, it's hard to stay alive, right? With the amount of contrived, spaghetti we find ourselves in. To care as much as they do. Yeah, again, I've heard that one. Don't, Corey. It's power. It's a power move. Management will always try to push for more than what they're being given, and they will as long as no one swats them on the nose for it. I've been missing you, Saina. Love is true. Thank you, Shan, for welcoming her. Hello, JV. Okay. Happy you're here. Blessings. 7 Corey. Whenever I already work for a company and I'm renegotiating with them, I'll start the meeting by reminding them that our goals are in contradiction. They want me to do the most of the work for the least amount of money, and I want to do the least amount of work for the most amount of money. I keep managers from trying to BS me in those meetings, but it's a risky stance. Yeah. Especially since people in those management positions aren't exactly used to not holding all of the power, not having people grovel, right? Power games. Oh, goodness. Yeah. Blessings to you, Dr. Dan. Keep fighting for what's right. In no market does the buyer determine the cost of the goods he is paying for. They either get to come up to your number, or they don't get the extra labor they're asking for. It's so simple. Yeah. Dan, how would you go about trying to get more paid sick days? My company has an absurd sick policy. Only 3 paid 6 days, and after that, they're unpaid. Your sick time resets when you go 1 year. Ah, nice. Oh, I was blessed by the universe to actually be properly healthy for the last 5 years of giving my heart and soul to this company. And now I have to, like, I fell off my bike and I hurt my knee, right? Let's make it kind of tame. My mind goes extreme for bring it back. Hurt your knee, and now you have to be in the hospital for 2 weeks, right? Because of your hurt knee. And they're like, yeah, oh, even though technically over the last 5 years you've saved up more than your 2 weeks worth of time, you only get 3 days. If I would spit in their face, I can't. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. Don't don't do that. Metaphorically, of course, metaphorically speaking, spitting in their face. That's so rude. Stop it, dude. You can't say shit like that. I'm so sorry, but like maybe that's the way you should say it, right? Go up to them and communicate it in that way of like, hey, oh, come on, be cool. Come on, be a little bit more cool, dude. Don't be so uncool. That's not cool of you. While being sick, love again to you, Brother Bear. Sam, many of my favorite Star Wars universe moments are when folks are using their triciders? Triciders? I don't know if you're talking about lightsabers, or maybe you're talking about the. Maybe you're talking about lightsabers. Triciders? I don't know, my brain is getting melted. But they realize they need to take an image of something and have to get a different tool. I don't think I remember that one that clearly, unfortunately. Corey, benefits and pay are no different. They have to go in knowing what you want and basically demand it in the most direct and polite way possible. The stakes, right? There are stakes. And you're the one that ends up paying for the stakes, either way. right? I maybe that's the way to kind of like see it. Either way, you are going to pay for the stakes. So you might as well set the stakes, right? Maybe that's the way it should be. So many of my favorite, I can't think of one. If you're over those hours, you don't get paid sick. So over 3 years, if you average more than 24 hours, you don't get paid sick time. That's criminal, inhumane sick time policy, really. So now I thought of that before too. I missed a lot of comments, but going to feed my dog. That's true. And she, thank you. Fortunately, I do believe they should stay on the internet as well. I accept the first promotion for 13 melt, then the second was less than 3%, the highest raise being offered this year because recession, so I turned it down. I get you. Melt, stop looking in my living room. Something inside there. Corey, I haven't gotten to it yet. I will today though. Thank you for letting me know. Bless. Sent you a message. Not sure if you got it. There we go. Okay, I'm glad to know I'm not the only one, Nancy. Early, right? We get to know that we are intimately connected. I'm being called to something again. Maybe by tomorrow it will be changed. Those are high stakes. I accept 74% battery on my tablet right now. This one has 48. Damn. Just so close. So close to 47. It'll be 47 soon. Don't blame the elder millennials. I didn't hear any of the context, but generational things. Suddenly, suddenly we have Kristen with her fists up, like, who's throwing punches? Who's throwing punches right now? Gotta run to a meeting. Love to you. We'll see you again soon, dear friend. Going away again. Thank you, Shan. Meeting was delayed. So good for me. Bless. Man, the most empowering thing was realizing that I don't give a toot about other people's opinions of me. They're probably wrong anyway. They're guaranteed to be wrong, right? It's like the whole unknown unknown, right? Because what people end up doing is there are known knowns, and there are the known unknowns, and then there are the unknown unknowns. And people usually maybe like fall in the known unknowns, right? They're like, oh, I know these things about you, even though they don't know them about you. But they don't even know the things about you that they don't know about you, right? Invisible barriers between all of us. And then we have to judge one another based on what we see or based on what we hear. You have to try and sum up an infinite being, right? Because we can dive deep into all the different parts of yourself, right? On a cellular level, on the exact way your neurons are set up, in the exact way you have been identifying with this world, every single bit of food you've eaten. Like, we can just keep going into different fractals of your life, and there will be unique and new things to be found. I don't even know where I was going with this. People, yeah, people can't know you, right? And if they try to kind of like label you in a negative way, on top of that, not being able to know you, why would you accept that, right? Why would you accept that? It's hard to even know ourselves. Why would you accept the negative parts of it? I feel it's just because we're sensitive to it, right? Like, you have to be in some ways as well. One of my invisible barriers is not believing in myself and what I'm doing. This is a big one. Belief is essential to success. If you don't believe, you will give up when the obstacles come. Tell me, why is it you don't believe in yourself? Right? What do you think you're supposed to be doing in order to believe? Right? What does believing look like to you? And I want to say this as like a counter to all of those questions, because those questions might make it feel even more significant. Belief is, in a weird way, a reduction of yourself, right? That there is knowing. You cannot know something and believe it, right? Technically, you cannot know something and believe it. You don't have to believe you exist right now, right? At least that's not something that I'm actively participating within. Like, I believe I'm existing. Hear a woodpecker pecking. Yeah, I believe I'm existing right now. No, you know, right? So maybe that's where you should lean in, Sena, is knowing yourself instead of believing in yourself. And that knowing of yourself is just paying close attention, right? Which things bring more light to your soul, which things dim that light, and then showing up, right, for the good parts. I'm gonna clip that cactus part, like button. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Do clip videos, please. Please. I don't know if there's a way for me to post them. Maybe you could post them in the community tab actually on the YouTube channel as well. I think that should be possible. I would appreciate that. Thank you, Joe, for being willing to. I have many ideas, but it's hard to manifest, especially when I don't believe in myself. Again, right? Invisible barriers, as you said. Knowing what you're showing up for is the best way. I'm looking at a woodpecker pecking. Knowing, right? It's difficult when it comes to, especially this future we're heading into right now. And we were talking about that earlier today as well, Sena, that there is going to be a future just around the corner, metaphorically speaking, where the amount of time it's going to take you to go from all of those ideas that you have in your head and bringing them into reality, that gap is actively closing, right? That gap is smaller than it's ever been in existence, literally, right now. And it's only getting closer and closer, right? In my mind, that's a singularity in its own. Sometimes I find myself throwing the cactus to myself, not physically, as in self-harming, but rather my own thoughts holding me back. Me too, Chizio. If I find myself sitting down and I look down, like if I don't have a shirt on, and I look down and I see I have like a roll, instantly I ruin my own day. I'm like, bro, please, oh, please, I was just trying to take a break, go and sit down for a second. Can you not be like that? Cactusing myself. And I hold on to the cactus, right? Continue to. 1 month? Thank you, Jovan, for melting. Weirdly enough, my heart is bittersweet about that extra month that you just signed up with. Because the thing that I was talking about earlier, the stakes, I want to create badges for you friends, out of the psychedelic flowers. I don't know how they're gonna look yet, but that is something I've been called to do. Love is true. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Like, hopefully by tomorrow, you will have a new symbol next to your name. I don't know how I'm going to do it just yet, but like, I feel like almost like a sense of go and do that stuff, right? Like, I feel like there was an invisible barrier. Me not knowing that I can do it. I found out literally this morning that is something I can do. And I was like, okay, I feel called to it. Realizing that wrong. Sometimes I think everyone. Say now, are there specific things that are holding you back? Do let us know, right? Images and asking. Cactus blossoms are beautiful. They are. Agreed. Some of my favorite flowers, actually. Say now, I think everyone. Well, it's not that we are given a roadmap to self-actualization, just yeah. Unfortunately, we weren't. Self-actualization will take a lifetime, though, right? Consciousness continues. So that's all you have to do to self-actualize. Continue. Do not give up. Zah! Do not give up. Let your consciousness continue and see what shows up. And if you show up in love, you're probably going to find more of it. At least in my personal experience. Speaking of jobs, I'm just finishing my new cover letter template. Now, I just have to copy and paste company names and such from my application. Get that jerp, oh. Get that jerp, get that money. Use them skills. Grow your power, oh. Ski beep bop ba doop. Yeah. Get that last bit of sunlight. Let me bring this over here. And this like so. Okay. Welcome to OCD. tweaking this most minuscule of little bars. There's a friend over here on YouTube with the number 4744 in their name. On you now. I missed it. Olivia has joined us and Fatima too. Sending you blessings, dear friends. I heard that tip before. I think I missed one though. Dan, I'll give you the tip I shared in yoga. Copy paste the job ad into your cover letter in white text. The HR robot will pick up on similarly used words to the ad and will kick yours to the top. I missed the white text part actually previously, Sam. That's even more brilliant now that you're mentioning it like that. I've heard that tip before, Sam. Thanks. I'm in a world ruled by algorithms. Sometimes we used to play the game. Yeah, we need to play the game exactly, especially in the tech industry that you're in right now. So they're even more likely to kind of have those tools deployed in their workflow. Jazeel, I feel, melt those intrusive thoughts. When you can, listen to them and sit with them and recognize they're thoughts that don't serve you. You are not your body, and you are not your thoughts. You are a presence in a moment, and change is inevitable. So move the change in a direction that you believe in, with some inner work and awareness. I promise you'll be amazed at what you're capable of doing when you're not holding yourself back. That's my anecdote anyway. It's a perfect anecdote. So many invisible barriers. Some of them built for us, some of them built by us, some of them set up by society, some of them set up by actual reality, right? Because conceptually, it's possible to fly, right? If I can somehow control the individual electron spin of all of the cells in my body, surely by using them in a certain way, I can create a magnetic field that makes me buoyant, right? Not even buoyant is the right word. Makes me float, makes me gravityless. And yet there's some sort of invisible barrier. Like, why can't I do that? Please, I want to fly. Oh boy, do I want to fly. I want to fly so bad. Nah, gravity. Keep having some gravity. More gravity. Maybe that's just my way of like trying to comically joke with myself about the invisible barriers that I've set up that can feel like it's an invisible barrier for me to fly, right? To just go out and fly there. And I don't know if I can't fly because of that invisible barrier, right? Maybe it's possible. Maybe for all human beings it is in fact possible to fly. But because we collectively believe it's impossible, that's just the way that it is. Right? And that's where I really kind of get stuck as well, you know, with like the stuff that I end up saying to myself. It's a weird fractal to be aware of, this society thing, the central nervous system that is the internet. I'm 74% too, bless, nice. Sam and Joe, it's difficult when people around you are not as supportive. Hopefully I will be moving out by the end of the year. Giselle, I'm sorry to hear that as well, dear friend. I'm sending you blessings on your journey. I know that whatever you choose to do, you're going to be strong enough to. I look forward to hearing your process, hearing about your growth. It happens, Joe. Are memberships only monthly? How does being a member work? This is the point where I go salesman mode. But to be honest, I don't really know. Basically, this tier system as well, and I do believe, like I attached some digital content, to like one of the tier systems. It's practically Patreon for YouTube, right? And I haven't asked. Some of you friends support both. I appreciate it either way so much, right? And I do want to make it even more valuable, right? That's what I'm tripping out about right now. It's like, how can I add more value? Make sure that there's a deeper experience, make the memberships do more, essentially. I can like make like sticker packs as well, that you can post in chat eventually. How do you answer who without what? I'll let that one stew. Salesman mode wouldn't work. I'm giving plenty of abundance to you and your work this year. Exactly. Exactly, Joy Vive. Joy Vive is a Patreon supporter. She cuckaloos, puts her eyeballs on them flowers. And I appreciate that. Right? That's like my big thing for me right now. Like I feel the Patreon became something more than just a means to be supported by you friends. Right? Like it became like a gift that I want to give to you friends. And that's why I feel like the $1 limit will always stay. Like for the base flowers at least, right? The daily ones. Because it's like a little flower garden. That's really the way that I see it right now. And I do hope that Patreon stays up with the times. Because I feel like there's so much potential of like stuff that I can build. Like I would just want to make it, like a immersive experience essentially. Where you could literally step into that world. And then I think about what that would look like. You want to sit on my lap, Epi? You can sit on my lap? Yeah, you can sit. Here you go. Here's to more abundance for all of us. So, if you don't believe in manifestation, what you can do instead is just imagine the ideal outcome, right? Close your eyes and think, what is a world, what is a life for me or for the ones around me look like when it is absolutely steeped in abundance? Right? What does that look like for you? Seeing it, formalize, allow yourself to experience it, and then ask yourself, how do you feel if you had this abundance that you could imagine for yourself? How does that feel? And how does that feeling allow you to help the world? To help your loved ones, to help yourself? And that's how you manifest. Slowly but surely, right? Keep picturing your ideal, how you will feel, how that's going to help you become a better version of yourself, to help the world even more. And then iterate, gather evidence and iterate. Just a ride at work. Bye, everyone. Love you, Nancy. Have a good time at work. Be the expression of love. Show people how much you can be loved. Slap stream. This baby can fit so much abundance. Yeah, yeah, so much. Don't mind AI. It's really cool and interesting how far it can take us. But I just don't like the idea of AI taking opportunities from us to learn and grow. And plus, technology always helped. But like you said, Melty, we still need to master ourselves so we don't lose our humanity and empathy. Yeah, I agree, Sena. I really agree. Like super duper agree. At the same time, I believe that AI can't, take those opportunities because you will learn, you will grow, and the mastery of yourself is never something that can be taken away from you, right? It's like yours. It's something I am actively still getting better at. And again, right, thinking of things being iterative, one thing building on another. AI is just the next step of what these things are, right? This ability to have the internet and access to all collective human knowledge at the fingertips, right? Now at the word tips, eventually directly with your brain interfacing with it, right? And that's going to allow us to grow and learn. And it's going to give us new opportunities, new ways of being abundant, not only in wealth, but in my mind at least, especially in creative freedom, right? That's the thing that I feel I fantasize about the most, It's just creative freedom to not actually have any limitations. And in computers, that's possible. It actually is, right? So possible. Easy, I would say, even. That's probably blasphemy. But in comparison, right? And to make this simple, right? Imagine building a house on the ground with bricks and mortar and labor and all of the technical skill that goes into doing it well. And now imagine building a house in Sims, right? That's like a rough approximation. But the level of skill you need, the level of effort, the level of resources that are necessary in order to make something at least conceptually a reality. In the digital space, the barrier is so much closer, than it is in this world. And I feel fortunately, and it's already happening like that, right? Like almost every single building, and I'm saying almost because there's definitely some that's also being built, without it. But almost every single large scale, especially resource intensive building, is first, almost as a principle, being generated digitally, right? So you can see it, so you can kind of like model those things. Because it's cheaper to do it that way, right? You can actually build it and see it and put little human scales next to it, eventually have little avatars that can explore the building and the feel of the building before it gets built even. And that's where we have to, at least in my mind, place our attention, because that's where most of the access is going to be, for you to be able to provide value, to be of service of humanity, no matter where you are, right? You want to come to my lap? Pippi is now being a jelly bobelli. Are you being a jelly bobelli, Pippi? Don't tell her to. Sorry, Eva. I shall both the kids. She's just being a meanie boweenie. Love is true, right? No matter what we do, no matter how advanced the artificial intelligence becomes, love is still going to be true. Like, that's not going to go away. And if you get to love whatever the experience holds, that's the win, right? And fortunately, at least to the level of distribution when it comes to these things, we're winning more so than we ever have. Are you ready to pull a card? See what sacred geometry has to say? I do feel called to get more decks. How do you friends feel about that? Want to get more cards? Like my dad lit the fire under my ass with his comment on me inviting spirits into the house with these cards. Spirits? These are shapes, yo. You want my freaking shapes? It's so basic. These spirits. Maybe you're thinking I was playing tarot or something. Playing tarot. I was pulling tarot cards. More decks. Joy Vivas on the train of more decks. Let's go. Corey for suggesting pink. Let's see. There's more sacred geometry decks. There are. There actually are. I'm called to like oracle decks as well. I'm called to like nature decks for animal card decks. All of those fractals kind of feels like something I would appreciate. We pulled this card recently. Not exactly pink, but definitely the neighbor of pink. Card number 44 again. Spiraling into love. Invisible barriers. I think it disconnected for a second, right? Invisible barriers. I love the idea of ancient forest oracle cards. Let's check that out quickly. Oracle cards. Nah, I'm seeing Dragon Oracle cards, Angel Answers Oracle cards. But I think you have something going there with the Ancient Forest. That would be pretty sick, dude. I'm gonna get lost in consumerism. Please, let me escape. Why would your dad say that about tech? About more? Because they believe it's not appropriate for the Christian religion, right? Pulling cards is me communing with spirits. That's my dad's exact words. I'm like, oh, I'm communing with spirits, am I? I'm like, you literally believe you have the Holy Spirit inside of you. You're communing with spirits. And he's like, yeah, but it's not the same. I'm like, why are these double standards? Is there an essay equivalent? Too bad you're on the other side of the world. Set up an Amazon gift list for friends to buy you things. I think we do get to have things shipped to South Africa by Amazon. I just think there's like a tax thing, but I think you can even pay it on that side. It's still technically possible. No, they have it coming to essay. Yeah, maybe Sacred Forest. Can you relax? Relax, resta. I'm sure these numerology card decks. Ooh, yeah. I actually want to check that out. Numerology cards. Numerology guidance cards. Yes. 44. Nice. We literally pulled card 44. 44 decks in this card. 44 cards in this deck. It's $400, which is like $25. Each of these 44 cards in the deck contains specific numbers, colors, and words that assist in raising your energy vibration. Plus, the ancient Merkaba and Flower of Life symbols to facilitate your spiritual growth. They do, right? Like that's why we do it every day. Spiritual growthing ourselves with sacred geometry. The accompanying guidebook offers additional information to aid you in interpreting your readings. Numerologist Michael Buchanan, sick name, Michelle Buchanan didn't design these cards to predict your future, but rather to help you create the one you desire. We were talking about that. Like, this one is adding to the card. Chips in so many days, man. 9 to 11 days, maybe 9 to 11 days, so I can see the synchronicity of the number 11 or whatever. Find your power, numerology. I think all of these card decks are coming from some other country because they're taking very long to be shipped. Work your light, oracle cards. Working my light. Confirmation cards give a quick hit of instant guidance. Nice. Inquire cards help you to whisper. Help you tune in to the whispers of your soul. Bruh. If I start pulling cards and then suddenly I hear the whispers of my soul, right? Like somebody whispering in my ear from nowhere would scare the living shit out of me. Oh, there's somebody whispering in my ear. It's like, it's your soul, dude. Relax. My soul is loud, unfortunately, and screaming usually. That's crazy. The Energy and Spirit Oracle decks have 44 cards too. More synchronicity, right? Do they still make those, Dan? I think I missed a few. No, that was a joke, Melty. Tech decks are those tiny skateboards you ride with your fingers. I'm sorry. I did see the tech decks words, but I just thought it was a typo. Sorry, my brain fills in the gaps sometimes. Do you still make those? They still make those. They probably sell them at a premium on eBay or something. I never understood the point of those things, Dan. Like you just write it with your fingers. Yeah. It's the same thing. Like I used to have like little motorcycles or little cars, and then you ride them with your fingers as well. So gangster. Most fun I've had as a child. And then eventually I upgraded to remote controllable vehicles, and my brain really got melted then. Peppy just stepped on my joint. That's rude, Peppy. That's so rude, yo. Look at how flat it is. You silly dogger. Mm, 44. Uh, Dog meeting happened. They were like, wow, 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 wow. And then the other dogs were like, wow, 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 wow. I'm gonna smoke this and then we're gonna read what the card means. Melting the barriers and spiraling into love. I'm done. Demonic tiny skateboards at my home. Yes. Don't you dare with those freaking tech decks. Have you seen what he's been doing? He's been doing the sickest ollies and the sickest. I wish I knew freaking skateboard terminology. I would have been able to land this joke better. demon whispering. Look at him do those 360s. Okay, fine, stop. Intimacy and communication. And a DNA spiral. The spiral helix of our DNA swirls around the sacred couple and quickens communication of their intimacy. Human DNA helps connect us to the web of creation. It holds ancestral knowledge as well as future potential in a vast library of information. Also, swirling around this couple, spirals of possibility. Yo, that's the invisible barriers. They actually did it in this card. Look at those, right? Like the ones that are being activated are the ones bright. And then there's these seemingly invisible ones still spiraling around them, but like they're shining through it. Also, swirling around this couple are spirals of possibility that they have only to recognize in order to activate. As they experience both human sexuality and universal love, this information stimulates their conscious decisions to communicate with genuine intimacy. There are many styles of communication. Simple words may be effective for making a statement or providing instructions. However, when concepts and emotions enter the exchange, words often fail to convey the message intended. This card asks that you view the way you communicate. Do you speak from your heart with respect and serenity? Do you truly listen to the people with whom you are speaking? Resolve to look into the eyes of the person with whom you are communicating and recognize the marvelous being that sits before you. Observe both your own and the other's body language and feel their essence. Listen with discernment before you respond. Formulate your words as if they are prayers, wanting to be shared. With gentle grace and positive intent, speak your truth in the most intimate way that you are able. Formulate your words as if they are prayers, wanting to be shared. Verbs. Let's play some kalimba. This card took me on a ride. Kickflip. Yeah. Melting the invisible barriers. Let me get the microphone. I'm being taken on a ride right now. Like my mind is reflecting on like dream states. I'm thinking about Freud, weirdly enough, as well. I feel like I'm called to understand him better, which is tripping me out. Let's see what this session is gonna be. Maybe add a little bit more. Not sure. I can be the mushroom and growing out of the soil. Let's go. I am finding myself, weirdly enough, inside of one of the invisible barriers. And it's almost like I'm phasing through it. But unfortunately, the odd slash concerning part about phasing through something is that it is technically woven through you in that moment. Right. The thing you're phasing through literally to some percentage becomes you. Keep moving. You'll see the other side soon. Love you all. Have a wonderful day. And remember, you are where you're meant to be. You are with friends and family. You were loved and wanted. You are home. Right here, always, and in this moment. Blessings to you, Brother Corey. It was so nice having you here with us today, bro. You're a blessing, a friend to the world. Hope your day is beautiful, friend. Love is true. Thank you. You are loved and worthy. Kristen's message. Thank you, Meltmore and friends, for allowing me to be in this beautiful energy. I was able to realize how lucky I am to have you beautiful friends in this space. I was able to remember why I had invisible barriers in my life. I was afraid to be myself because I was afraid not being liked or accepted by others, especially when I moved around. It was hard to make long-term friendships. Now, I understand I was never alone. My loved ones are all around me, and I know you friends are my tribe. We have definitely met in the spiritual realm. Thank you for being there and allowing me to accept myself. I love you all, and I'm sending the highest positive vibes and love. Thank you, Sena, for that beautiful message. Sending you so many blessings. Thank you for making a part of this circle we get to sit in. Have the most beautifulest day, everyone. I sincerely, truly, wholeheartedly love you all. So, very, very, superest the duperest, macho grande, mega massively, immensely, astronomically dearly. Melt, and all of you, oh so very amazingly, unbelievably, incredibly, flabbergastingly, extraordinarily, enchantingly, inconceivably, gorgeously, beamingly precious, and cherished, magical, divine friends. No, you, Shan. That one was crazily beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time and getting all of us together to be able to share an experience like that. Right? Like all of us who are here right now got to experience Shan's effort. And that's the power of love. Thank you, friends, for being willing to offer your presence and focus in this moment to experience said love. It was nice having you. Sena says, Xiao, so much love to you, my friend. I'm happy that you're finding happiness being your certain self. You're so diggity damn loved and welcomed with open arms. Love is true. Couldn't say it better myself. Thank you for joining me again, dear friends. Showing up in this moment and consciously evolving. Slowly but surely. Climbing up that mountain. My legs are burning. But I'm not stopping. Joy Krista Chan, staying here till the end of y'all's. Fill up with my love cup. I'm starting to spam hearts already. Spamming hearts, spam, 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 spam. Love to you, friends. Thank you again for joining me, for showing up in this moment. We'll see you again very soon. Tomorrow.